All right, Jeremy Miner, we are live. So if you are brand new to following us somewhere, BAM Media, what's up, YouTube? How's it going? So if you're brand new and maybe you sort of follow me, on YouTube or you're following me in the Facebook group Sales Revolution. So we're using a platform called StreamYard. So we're going live right now in the Facebook group Sales Revolution. Now there's 80-some thousand of you in there. That thing is growing like crazy. We're also going live in our Facebook business page, where I think we're almost up to 150-some thousand of you guys on that one. LinkedIn, we're going live, and we're also going live on our YouTube channel. Now, every Wednesday, we interview a client from a completely different industry. Now, I just noticed this. I just told this client, I'm like, actually, I interviewed somebody from your industry last week. Now, they sell something different, but it's the same type of industry. I'm like, usually we always interview different clients for different industries. So you're going to hear two somewhat similar industries sell different products and services. But what I want you to do while I'm interviewing this client, because this client makes close to, we're talking 35,000 a month in commissions is what he's averaging right now. Some months even more, like he's almost made 50 grand this month in commissions. And I looked up his industry, and the average salesperson in his industry makes a little bit less than $6,000 a month. So if the average salesperson is making around $6,000 a month, how is he making, closer to $40,000 a month in commissions? What did he learn? What advanced sales ability is he acquiring to get him up to those levels? And we're going to interview him. Now, what I want you to do in the meantime is I want you to ask him questions. So type in me if you want to ask a guy who makes, he's going to make close to 400,000 plus this year in commissions. Type in me if you want to ask a question about selling or sales to a guy that makes $400,000 in commissions in a year. I think next year he'll probably make more than that. Okay. So we're going to bring him out. So each week, a rule on here to be interviewed in our Facebook group is number one, you have to be a client, obviously, and you have to be making at least 30,000 a month in commissions to be on this live. We have hundreds each week that clamor that are making those numbers in every industry basically that want to be interviewed. So I love interviewing this guy. This guy's great. He started a couple of years ago as a client and then came back in as a client again about 4 or 5 months ago to just keep up in his skills. And that shows us that he's a serious salesperson. Like he looks at sales as a real profession, because if you look at your profession as something real, you put in time into that to perfecting your skill. You invest money into your skill level, because if you don't invest money into advancing your skill level to acquiring a much more advanced sales ability, well, you just never make more money, right? It's like a doctor, you always, if you kind of, they spend all this money in medical school, but even while they're practicing, they're still going to events. They're still buying programs. They're still advancing their knowledge because they want to advance their skill level. So why aren't you doing that as a salesperson? That's the biggest reason why your income stays exactly where you're at right now. See, once you start to hey, I want to be a top 1% salesperson, I have to do what top 1% salespeople do. I have to learn more advanced sales ability to get to that level. I can't keep saying and doing and asking the same questions I am now that's gotten me here. If I want to get here, I've got to get a much more advanced sales ability, unless you want to double or triple your hours. Can you double your hours? You already work 8 to 10 hours a day. You're going to work 16 to 20? How long is that going to last? You're going to burn out, right? Now, if you are brand new to the Facebook group, or you just, like I said, you started following me on YouTube recently, or LinkedIn, or the Facebook business page, my name is Jeremy Miner. I'm the founder of Seventh Level. We're obviously a sales training organization that trains salespeople exactly like you watching me here in this shirt. So we train sales professionals like you, sales executives like you. We train sales leadership, sales management, entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches, consultants, anything you can think of that has products or services or trying to get more clients. Now, we train you certain techniques that work with human behavior. And we're going to ask this gentleman what some of those techniques are. And like I said, I want you to start asking him questions when I bring him out here, and we're going to answer some of those while we dissect some of his sales process that he's learned. Now, he's in our most elite program here. It's called the Advanced Inner Circle. All right. He was in there 2 years ago, and then he came back in about 4 or 5 months ago again to keep advancing his skills. Right. And that's what he's doing. So we're going to teach you, like if you're a client, what's called NEPq. That stands for Neuro Emotional Persuasion Questioning. Now, it's not just the questions that we train you what to do, how to build a gap from where the prospect is to where they want to be. We also have to train you the right tone. Okay. I want you to write this down. Your tone is how your prospects interpret the intention behind everything you say. Your tone is how your prospects interpret your intention behind your questions. Does that make sense, everybody? Because there's certain questions that require more of a curious tone. Jeremy, can you walk me through? See, that's a curious tone. There's other questions when we get deeper into the sales conversation or process that require more of a skeptical or challenging tone. What happens if you don't change this, though? See, that's a skeptical tone. There's other questions in your sales process that require more of a concern tone, a tone that shows more empathy. What's really holding you back? See, that's a concern tone. Now, are you 100% sure the questions you've been taught to use? Are you 100% sure your tone is actually getting you where you want to be? Okay. All right. Now, type in me in the comment section if you want to start making your first 10 grand every month in commissions with what you sell. So your industry right now, you don't even need to leave it. Type in me in the comments if you want to start making 10 grand consistently every single month. Not 1 month you're up, 1 month you're down. Now type in me if you're like, man, I don't want to make just 10. I want to make 15 or 20,000 every month. So type in me if you're like, I want to make 15, 20,000 every single month in your industry. Type in me in the comments. Now you're like, hey, some of you are like, man, I don't want to just make 15 or 20. I want to make 30. Type in me if you want to be like this client and make 35,000 every month in commissions with what you sell. In fact, type in me because this client will probably say he wants to average 50 grand every month. He's had some months he's hit 50, but now he wants to make 50 every single month. So type in me if you want to make 50, 40, 50, 60,000 every month in your industry. I can assure you we are already training salespeople in your industry, watching me in this shirt, that are hitting those numbers every single month. Are they any different than you? Do they just have cooler ears? Is their nose just look more awesome? Are they just tall or short? What's the difference? No difference. The only difference is they've just acquired a much more advanced sales ability than you have yet. Notice I said yet, because that's available for you. So if you typed in me, message me directly right now. So if you typed in me in the comments, message me directly right now. So if you're in the Facebook group or LinkedIn or the Facebook business page or my Facebook or YouTube, message me directly right now. Either me, myself, because I get in the DM sometimes now as well, either me or one of my surrogates, my stunt doubles, will message you back different options we have, training options for your industry if you want to make those numbers every single month. And I'm not kidding when I say that. All right. All right. Now, if you're on the live right now, we're going to jump into this interview and I'm going to have you ask questions. If you're on the live right now, type in #live. So go down to your phone and I want you to post #live. Now, if you're on the replay, I want you to post #replay. So if you're on the live right now, post #live. And if you're on the replay, post #replay. I better see tons of #lives and tons of #replays if I'm going to bring this guy out and you can ask him questions. I mean, the dude he's going to make 400 grand this year. Any of you on here make 400 grand in your sales position? You probably want to ask him some questions if you don't, right? So #live, #replay. I want you to smash the heart button and I want you to smash the like button. So go to your phone, smash the heart button, smash the like button. I better see hundreds of smashed hearts, hundreds of smashed likes. I mean, it's only like 104 today here in Scottsdale, Arizona. So a good day to play golf because it's usually like 112 right now, this part of August. 104, man. I'm putting on a coat over here. All right. Let's bring this guy out here. Jeremy, you got a good name. Jeremy.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm really, I just wanted to share with you, I'm proud of you because, 2.5 years ago, we started a program here called the Advanced Inner Circle. And I looked you up and you're one of the first 100 people in that program. And I love that, you started selling more, getting up there, and then you got distracted in some other things you're doing. And then you come back and you're like, man, I got to nail this down. I got to get back in. You jump back in, you put your money where you want to go. And now look at you, you're just moving up. Now, Jeremy, everybody's been asking, what industry do you sell in? What do you sell?
I'm in the what's called the in-home sales or in-home remodeling industry.
Okay. And
I sell
specifically,
gutter.
what company do you sell for?
I sell gutter screens for leaf filter.
Okay. So he sells gutter screens. Now, some of you are like, gutter screens? I didn't know you could have a sales job selling gutters. How does, so I have to ask you, Jeremy.
Yeah.
How does a salesperson make 40 grand a month selling gutter screens? What is that? How is that even possible?
To be frank, it's sometimes it's a little bit of getting lucky, but honestly, it's just from a lot of the NEPq stuff that I've learned from you and
Yeah.
all the other sales trainers I've kind of put together
Sure.
to form my own style.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that today. So, question I always ask everybody, and then, hey, everybody, I want you to start asking him questions. So, ask Jeremy any question on your mind right now. Like, how did you do this? What's your biggest thing that you do to get the prospect to create urgency? Anything like that? Hey, we got 30 minutes here, so you better start posting your questions in here, and I'm going to pick the top 10 or so to bring out here. BAM Media, what is your commission structure? Just be brief on that. You don't have to go through a whole down.
It's basically a flat percentage plus a percentage of the profit that I sell over for whatever the minimum acceptable price is, and so that's how it works there.
Okay, good stuff.
I can make
All right,
up to 24% commission on sale, and average
like
sales
going over. Okay,
yeah,
I got you.
exactly.
Okay, good. Okay, okay. So, question I have for you. So, I ask everybody this: were you born out of your mother's womb with advanced questioning skills?
Absolutely. No,
You were. Wow.
No, I'm probably one of the most socially awkward, introverted people that are in sales. And every time I've gone in for interviews, half the time the sales managers didn't want to even hire me because I sucked on the interviews.
They're lost, right? All right. Now, were you born out of your mother's womb with advanced tonality skills?
Definitely not.
Were you born out of your mother's womb with advanced objection handling and prevention skills?
No.
Okay, so what you're suggesting is you had to learn those skills.
Absolutely.
So you had to acquire those skills.
Yeah.
So what does that mean to everybody listening here? That you can acquire the same skill level that Jeremy and tens of thousands of our clients, many of them in your industry watching us, are acquiring day in and day out. Okay, now, a couple of questions here for you. So how long have you been in sales? Let's just start there.
Started officially in 2008, so about 15 years total.
Okay, what did you do before that?
I was in the military, and then my dad had a successful chiropractic practice, and he wanted me to go follow him into chiropractic college. So I did that, and then he died my first year of chiropractic college. And
oh man, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I had to kind of decide, do I want to finish school and try to be a chiropractor with no credit, no money, or support my family? And I didn't want to go back in the military. So
yeah, I got you. Okay, so you get into sales. How did you sell when you first got into sales? Like what was going on? This was pre-NEPq days.
Yeah, it was very hardcore, hardcore closer type thing, like don't be weak, be a very assertive, very combative.
Yeah. And there's a difference between like being assertive and combative, right? Because you can be assertive, that we would teach you to be assertive, but in more of an expert way rather than like a pushy way. That's just a big difference there for sure. Assertiveness is good, but more of an expert, a trusted way rather than a combative, like you against me way. I'm trying to make money. That's right. Important. Now, okay, so you get into sales, you use these combative techniques. I think, you even sold for lead filter before you got NEPq, and you even got up to like 10 grand a month, right?
Yeah, I was making 10 to 15, and then I hired a coach and I got up to 15 to 20, but it was exhausting.
Exhausting meaning?
Meaning it just took a lot of like emotional, because I was so dependent on the outcome. And
Yeah.
I wrapped up my self-worth in,
Yeah.
whether I could close the deal, because if I didn't close the deal, then I won't get assigned leads the next day. And so it was just a
So
lot of anxiety.
stressful,
Yeah.
anxiety, frustration. Yeah, I mean the techniques like that, you're gonna be emotional all the time because you're triggering a lot of sales resistance. Prospects are mean to you.
Yeah.
Emotionally, that wears on you, right? That's why a
Right.
lot of people get into sales, and because of the way they've been forced to learn, they want to get out of sales, right? It burns them out. Even if they make six figures, they get burned out, then want to get into management, right? Okay,
Right.
so a couple, 2.5 years ago, how did you find us? Like, how did this whole process start where you got into the training?
Well, I was actually a prospect, and you were the salesperson on the phone. And when your person who set the appointment set it up for you, she goes, "Oh, you're actually pretty lucky. You're going to have Jeremy Miner
Oh, you talked
as."
to me?
Yeah, yeah. It was
Oh, I don't
yeah,
remember that.
yeah.
Interesting. You sure you didn't
And
talk with Matt or somebody else?
no, it was you for another company that you were doing training for another company. It was
Oh,
a
oh, I didn't even know that. Interesting.
yeah,
Okay. But how did you, okay, that's right. But then you got into the training
yeah.
program. Okay. Okay. That makes a
She
little bit
she
more sense
told
then.
me
I think that
about.
was a company we were training at that
Yeah,
point or
and
something.
she
That makes
told
more
me
sense.
your record, so I
Yeah.
Googled you, and so I just I went through the process and tried to learn from you, and
That's
then
fascinating.
yeah.
Okay, so you get into the training, and what did you start noticing? A couple months in, 3 months in, like what started happening? And I know you were jumping back and forth between like six different jobs, but what did you start picking up initially?
Right away, I could tell that there was a difference in how the clients were reacting right away,
Meaning,
meaning that they were just less defensive up front. Because I went in, the first thing I remembered was, don't go into it as being a product pusher. Go into it with a mindset of being a professional problem finder and problem solver.
yeah, because in your industry, whatever industry it is, they have problems
Yeah.
and or emotional needs. Your solution solves those, right? So you flip that script and you start to elevate your status in their mind, not lower your status by getting all weird and pushy and all that stuff. It just lowers your status because they view you just like any other salesperson that society in large doesn't want to be around, doesn't like, tries to get rid of. All
Right.
right. So you started getting results, you kind of got out, and then you came back in to lead filter,
Yeah.
right? Was it a year ago?
Yeah.
About a
About
year
a year, a
ago?
little over a year
Okay.
ago.
And then what caused you, because you were doing well, what caused you to be like, you know what? I need to get into like advanced inner circle. Like I got to up my game. What, because you're already making six figures. What caused you to be like, you know what? I need to make double. I need to make triple what I'm making. Like what went on in your brain that would
Yeah.
cause you to want to do that?
So what happened is I had a really good month a year ago, July of last year, and when I did the math, I realized I made like 40 grand that month, and I was only averaging like 15 to 20, and I was like, okay, I don't want this to be a fluke to where
Yeah.
I never do this again. I don't want to be this type of sales guy where, oh, like Al Bundy scoring 5 touchdowns in one game
Right.
and looking back on it, oh, I averaged 20 grand a month, but my best month was 40. So I was so excited at the end of the night. It was like I could not go to sleep. And I just asked myself, what do I need to do to ensure that this is not just a one-time fluke, but that I do this each and
You do
every.
it consistently every month. All right. And I remember you jumped into our advanced inner circle. Okay, so let's give them some meat here, and then we're going to start answering some questions. What's a good connection question that you've learned from the training for your industry that really helps you get your prospects to really like lower their guard?
Well,
And yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So I really like, after I've asked my standard kind of connecting questions at the end, I like to ask them. And so, Jeremy, like, I guess what else were you like hoping to get out of the visit today? Just so I have a better understanding of what you were looking for.
Why is that question so important at the end of the connection phase? And that's one we use for a lot of different industries, especially if it's an inbound lead, because you're going out to their home, right? There's an appointment. Why is
Yeah.
that so important to use?
I mean, for me, I feel like it's a disarming kind of thing. But I would love to hear your
Well,
opinion on
what it does is when you say, now, just so I understand, what were you hoping to get out of the call with us today? Just so I have more context. So when you say, what are you hoping to get out of the call? What that does is it raises your status, meaning, once again, they're the ones that have the problems.
Mm-hmm.
You're the ones that holds the keys to solving those problems. So you're flipping that script, whereas most salespeople are like lowering their status, where they're basically almost like begging for the deal. You're flipping it on them with what they're hoping to get out from the meeting, just so you have more context. And usually like, well, I'm hoping to find out about this, and I'm hoping you guys can solve this. And it flips the script and raises your status in their mind. That's called situational status. That's what that question does, just so you know.
Okay.
So you don't even know why you're asking it. You just know it works.
That's what I was going to say. Like, as well as I'm doing, like, there's so much more room for improvement if I could really master this stuff.
No, it's so true. Like every 3 months, you should take a quantum leap. You know, as long as you're in our training, going through it every day, like our clients are, you just will take a quantum leap. Now, there's a couple of questions here. Somebody on Facebook is asking, and I'm going to try to find them on the actual, in the Facebook group here to see what their name is, but I can't see it. It says Facebook user. It says, question for Jeremy Mitchell. What was your limited belief before going into NEPq? Like, what was your limited belief? That's a good question.
Man, that's a very loaded question.
That is.
I had a lot of limiting beliefs, and I'm real big on Tony Robbins. So I think what it was before going into NEPq was just that in order to make this kind of money, I was going to have to work really, really hard. And I didn't know if I had the mental and emotional endurance to be able to work that hard to make that amount of money. Yeah. And it's similar to another question I happen to see where they're like, how do you see that many people? I'm seeing on average about 3 people a day. And
yeah, see there, you know why they're asking those questions? Because they've been taught that selling is a numbers game. When you're in our advanced training, we train you that selling is a skills game. See, top 1% earning salespeople, they don't look at selling as a numbers game. That's what the masses do. That's why they stay in the masses and average. Yeah. We look at it as a skills game, just like an NBA basketball player would. Like Steph Curry, 3-point shooter. Does he go out and say, hey, basketball, it's just a numbers game. Just shoot as many threes as you can. You'll get one here and there. It's just a numbers game. If Steph thought that, he would have never made his varsity basketball team. Steph views basketball as a skills game. See, he's focused on his technique and improving his technique every single day. That's what top 1% earners do. They have to improve their technique. So each conversation, they're focused on closing a much higher percentage of the people they talk to. They don't have to go out and see 12 people a day. They can see 3 or 4 and close 80% of those. Whereas the person that's seeing 12 is focused on the numbers and they're just going through the motions and they're closing 1.
And it's an efficiency thing too, because it's like, instead of making 8 to 10% commission, I'm trying to shoot for 20 to 24% commission with my company's pay structure. Yeah. So I can make, if I can make double or triple the commission that the average rep is making in the company on the same amount of leads that the average rep is running, that's why I'm making 2 or 3 times.
That's because you now have the skill level where you know how to build a huge gap from where they are compared to where they want to be, because of your question and tonality you've learned in Inner Circle, that now you're able to sell 2-3 times more to the same person. Whereas an average salesperson just focused on the numbers, triggering sales resistance, they're just trying to get something because they're desperate and they don't have the skill level to upsell. That's the difference. Hopefully that's a good question. Hopefully that answered your question there. I think that's a big one there. I think a lot of salespeople think they just have to work 12, 14 hours a day and go through the numbers. And it's not your fault. You guys have all been taught that. It's not your fault, but it is your what? It is your problem. So you want to start focusing on selling being a skills game and focusing on each conversation, focusing on better questioning, better tonality, better body language, where you convert most of the people you talk to rather than just converting here and there. And you're going to have to play the numbers game if you don't acquire those skills, unfortunately. And that leads to a lot of what? burnout, right? Okay. What's a good situation question we've taught you how to use? Now, there's several that you use for your industry, but maybe what's a good situation question that you've learned that helps the prospect understand what their real situation is? Because a lot of them don't understand what's really going on when you first start talking to them, right?
Yeah. So because we sell so many different products, the situation questions really kind of depend on what their situation is. So it's hard to say if they don't have gutters, what kind of gutters, do you like
You
your
can't
gutters?
use that one. Yeah, you can't
Right.
use that problem awareness question. Yeah, for
So
sure.
so it's really what I've found is not getting so married to like what question do I ask next, but more like I understand there's a road I need to lead them down, but
Yeah.
it's through asking them the questions. And then what I do is I do a lot of probing and clarifying
Yeah.
off of the answers. So it really varies. But
That's how you build a gap. You don't build a gap by the surface level questions. You build a gap by once they answer those, clarifying and probing to get them to emotionally open up and relive pain. So, for example, if they don't have gutters, you can't say, "Do you like the gutters you have?" It wouldn't make any sense.
right.
But in the situation questions, if they start telling you, a problem, give me an example of a problem they're having.
So they might say, oh, I've got these gutters here that are clogged up here, and I might ask them, okay, and what are you doing, like if anything, to try to keep them clean right now, so so that they can flow properly.
And what would they say to that?
They might say, well, I'm getting up there and clean them, once or twice a year. And then I like to kind of joke with them at that point and, and just kind of say, and how often do you think you probably should be cleaning them? And just
and they're like, "Oh, I should do it more."
right.
Yeah, because what you can do is go ahead.
I was just going to say, I know that that's probably technically a solution, awareness.
But sometimes you improvise. The biggest thing that you just said to everybody is you have to be flexible with your questions. You don't just stick to the script, but you understand what you need to get out of each stage. You understand a connection stage, you need to get them to lower their guard. That's the main thing. So let's say if I've got 4 connection questions, but I ask the second one and they kind of answer the others, I don't necessarily need to just ask the same 2 questions that they just kind of answered. I can then transition into more situation questions, right?
Right.
So you understand what you're trying. Now, situation questions, you understand the concept of I have to help them find and understand what their real situation is. Because if I can't get the prospect to understand where they're at and what their real situation is, because most don't know, you can't build a gap to where they want to be if they don't understand where they're currently at. That's impossible to do.
Right.
So you might only have to ask a few situation questions, even though you've got 5 on your script, and they might give you everything you need from those 2.
Right.
So you have to be flexible in that. You're learning that. That's really good because that makes the conversation a lot more natural rather than.
That's what I think is really kind of key, is making it kind of a natural conversation through the verbal pausing, the verbal cues that you talked about the other day. And, and then just kind of what I've realized is, like, as I'm walking around and doing an inspection, if I find problems that they aren't aware of in like problem awareness, instead of making statements, I always ask myself, how can I ask this in a question that will get them to answer? So
internalize it.
Yes. And so
then it's their idea.
Yeah. So that way I'll ask them questions like, for example, like, were you aware that this wood was, in this condition here, or rotting, as just an example, and
then so you go up there like, can you say that? Are you aware that wood is actually rotting? Oh, no, I wasn't aware of that. Right. Instead of saying, hey, this wood is rotting, statement goes in one ear out the other. We wrap that in a form of a question. Now it starts to internalize and stick. That's
anything. I try to not make any statements. I try to always say, how can I turn this statement into a question where they're making the statement to me and they're convincing themselves of it, as opposed 100%. To me saying it.
Okay, we got another Facebook user. I think this is a good question. 400K, are you an incredibly large market?
No, I'm in Oklahoma City, which is probably less than 1 million people. But it's just, I'm really blessed with the company. They sell a product, they do a lot of marketing, and the product pretty much, I don't want to say it sells itself.
What's the average salesperson make though in your industry?
Well, I mean, in the industry, I don't know, but I can say
I looked it up.
Like in my office, I would say the average rep makes 80 to 100 grand a year.
Yeah, so about 7 grand a month. The average in the industry is a little bit over 6 grand a month. It's like 6,200 some dollars. So your average rep in your industry is making about 7. That's a lot different than making 35 to 40 every month, though. So not the product, but the skill level that sets us apart. Because a lot of reps, like, we get probably 30 to 50 new testimonials a day just in our Facebook group, let alone our Instagram ads, Facebook ads, YouTube, LinkedIn. We don't even keep track of that anymore, just what we see in the Facebook group. And when people post those, a lot of people sort of say, what industry are you in? I need to get in that industry, thinking that it's the industry that's caused Jeremy to make 400 grand a year, whereas the average person in industry makes 70 grand a year. So it's not the industry, it's your skill level, it's your sales ability that you're learning. Guys, I hate to say this, all of you got to stop thinking that it's the industry you're in is fault. Because I can assure you, every industry on here that's watching us, we are training people in that industry that make just as much as Jeremy, if not more. And Jeremy's still learning to make more. He's still getting trained how to learn more. Okay, let's keep going. I think there's some good ones here. Try to get one on here. Just signed up for the NEPq 2.0 portal for Ian. Any advice on how to best apply everything in the final expense industry, or just best advice on how to apply everything? You want to give them your advice, and I'll kind of show them.
Sure. I'm just going to tell them what you told me when I first signed up for Inner Circle was go through all of those trainings and just consume them at a rapid pace and get it done as quickly as possible. Don't just kind of dip your toe in the water. Just dive full in and 100% immerse yourself into it.
I mean,
don't just watch once.
If you think about it, how successful are you going to be in anything in life if you dip your toe in the water? Like, you're just not going to, you're going to make some sales here and there more. Even if you just go through the portal one time, by default, you're probably going to pick up some stuff to sell more. But if you want to like double your income, triple, quadruple like Jeremy has had, he's going through the portal all the time. I mean, that's a 43-hour portal now, 43 hours. He's also in Advanced Inner Circle, which is like 7 or 8 different training calls a day. And a lot of times, he's at work, so he has to go through the recordings. So, instead of like, I don't know if you just sit there and listen to music all day, but I'm assuming you're going through some of those recordings several times to really pick up the information.
Right. I've got a lot of windshield time, a lot of drive time.
And use your car as the university on wheels. Yes. Best place to acquire new sales skills is use your car as university on wheels. So when you're going through that portal, Ian, driving to the grocery store, 10 minutes, you got 10 minutes to learn. Going back home from the grocery store, another 10 minutes. There's 20 minutes right there. Bam. You drive to work, 25 minutes. There's another 25 minutes to learn. You drive home, there's another 25 minutes. All of a sudden, that's an hour and a half each day. Then you have to go drive to this errand or drive to this sales appointment. That could be, you could be learning 2 hours a day just in your car. Because what most people do, what most salespeople do is they listen to their favorite music, their favorite songs, talk radio, politics. And how much money does that make you each month?
Right.
0 bagels.
And do it every day, consistently.
You do it every day consistently for a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years. You will be making 5 times what you are now in the same sales job. A lot of people ask me, what's your secret, Jeremy? How did you make all that money when you were a salesperson? My secret? Simply outlearned everybody else. That's the secret. Nothing special. Simply dedicated myself to acquiring those skills. And that's why I made millions of dollars a year in commissions in industries where the average salespeople were making $5,000 a month.
And how did those people treat you when you were always going to seminars and reading books and everything? Because I have a feeling
they thought I was crazy.
Yeah,
literally, people made fun of me. They thought I was crazy. Then they came and asked me for advice.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. All right, let's ask a few more questions. I like this. Maybe what's a good problem awareness question you've learned that to help the prospect see some problems that maybe they didn't think they had?
Well, I do like the idea of just I like the classic "do you like" question, because like there will be times when people will have a gutter up on their house and it doesn't look very good, and instead of me just coming out and just saying something like you need new gutters, again, it's always trying to form.
Do you like?
Yeah, exactly.
And with like a confused tone.
Yeah. I'll say that, and they'll say, well, what do you mean? And then before I can even respond, they'll say, well, you mean how like this color doesn't match over here? And I go, yeah. And I'm kind of trying to be, not trying to diminish
Nice.
their house. Yeah,
Yeah, and
exactly.
they open up. Another good problem awareness question you can do is, let's say if they're like, oh, I've got to get up on the ladder and they're elderly, right?
Hmm.
Which is a hazard because people die trying to do that every year that are elderly, right? Even people that are younger, they fall off a ladder, they die, right? Or they get paralyzed. So if they're getting up there, let's say they're elderly, you can simply say, I mean, do you want to have to keep doing that if you didn't have to? Like with a concerned tone? Oh no, if I didn't have to. See, that's a problem awareness question, the first one you can use depending on what they say, right? So there's different versions of how you can do, problem awareness. What's a good consequence question that maybe you've learned that really helps build urgency?
So that's a good question. I saw somebody ask something like that earlier, and it's basically formed around, they have to do something sooner rather than later, because if they don't, it'll end up costing them more later. So I'll say, with this wood like starting to rot like this, if you don't get the gutters flowing properly, like, can you see how this might possibly cost you more in the long run than what it would actually cost to maybe do the gutters and gutter screens?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good one. And another one is, well, in your mind, like, which is more expensive for you? Is it more expensive for you guys to get the funds, you get the gutters up there, XYZ, you'd plug that in industry, XYZ is solved, or is it more expensive for you to keep having the clogging and then, XYZ problem, or whatever you would say, and then XYZ happens? What would you say there? Or is it more expensive for you just to keep the gutters you have? And then what would you say? The clogging keeps
Just the gutters keep overflowing, and
gutters
the
keep
water's pouring
overflowing.
that foundation for another 5, maybe 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
I mean, what would
I would
it,
even shorten that down to like 3, 6, 12 months,
yeah,
something like that. I'll work with you on that through Voxer.
yeah,
I'd have to look at your consequence question, Evan. The one you have on there is good. It's all about your tone though. So like
yeah.
yours is a little bit longer, but the way you paste it out is completely fine because it slows it down where the prospect pays attention the whole way. All right. There's a couple
And
other
that's a
questions.
huge part too, is like the tonality that you learn in the NEPq. And it's not just on the videos, it's going to the calls, the live calls, and hearing people. It's so funny how just it's the
Yeah.
nuances.
71% of you actually making the sales based on your voice and your tone.
Right.
Because your prospect, that's how they interpret the meaning behind everything you ask. Manny says, how could your training improve the sales performance of a banker? First of all, that's a huge industry we train, Manny. Just so you know, I know your industry like the back of my hand. We have bankers that make, well, I hate to tell you, millions of dollars. I struggle so much with tonality and can't seem to speak at that level of authority. That's what we train you how to do in our advanced inner circle. Even advanced NEPq 3.0, we train a high level of advanced tonality. So Manny, you want to acquire those skills, you probably, the first thing you got to do is jump into the Facebook group, because you can't message us on YouTube. The platform doesn't work that way. So go to salesrevolution.pro and then just message me in there. And
Something about that tonality there is, even if you just take your normal scripts or whatever you're trained on, and you just take out some of the assumptive languaging and put in the neutral languaging, and just slow it down, like how I'm talking to you right now, and using those like verbal pauses,
verbal cues, verbal pausing. Yeah, we
get
teach all
people
that.
really draw in.
Yeah.
Even just that helps, that you learn in this training. That'll help, even if
because a lot of people think it's just the questioning. I'm like, the questioning is like 30%. The other 70%, verbal pausing, verbal, like your tonality, verbal, the pacing, verbal pausing, verbal cues. That makes a massive difference. Facebook user, how can I apply these techniques in selling mattresses? First of all, people have problems. There's never been a product or service that doesn't solve a problem and or an emotional need, just like a mattress. It's not like they just buy a mattress to sleep on. They buy a mattress because maybe the mattress they have like is breaking their back and it's causing them to miss work or be uncomfortable. There's so many issues. We train tons in your industry, the furniture industry, the mattress industry. I've got mattress salespeople that make 30 grand every single month consistently that used to make 4 grand a month. So just message us directly if you want to acquire those skills. All right. All right. Let's see. Please answer me. I need to know, Eddie. I don't know how do you introduce yourself on an intro phone call to a prospective client? Well, Eddie, it would depend on your industry because we'd have to know more. We'd have to know what industry you're in. And if you cold call or if it's a inbound lead or outbound lead, we train you all those tweaks in our virtual training courses. So Eddie, just message me on Facebook and you can book in a call with one of our account managers. We have like 27 different training programs. And once we find out your industry, what you make now compared to what you want to make, we give you the advice on which program to get in that's going to make you the most money the quickest. And home improvement, Eddie, is one of the biggest industries you train. Train 158 industries. How many industries are there on the planet? Only 158. Just so everybody knows, there's subsets of each. We're in all of those. Okay. Home improvement's one of the top 20 industries we train now. So just message us if you want to learn how to sell that way. I just got into high ticket industry selling supplements. The biggest issue is always when the price comes up. Justin, that's because you haven't learned yet how to build a gap from where the prospect is to where they want to be. And because of that, your prospect will only be focused on price or cost-based thinking. Whereas in our training programs for our clients, high ticket's one of the biggest industries you train as well. We teach you how to get them into results-based thinking so they don't even care about the price because they're so focused on the end result and getting where they want to be. Jeremy, any last words of advice?
Yeah, I was going to say that was a big learning concept just from getting started back this time around. And I do want to address one other thing that somebody said about, getting a sales job. Like everything is sales. And so one of the things was when I first learned NEPq, I have bounced around to a lot of sales jobs. And I used NEPq to basically sell myself to the sales managers because I would ask them what their situation was and problems and stuff like that. So
you use it in every part of your life. And Jeremy, thanks so much for telling everybody, hey, I'm an introvert, because a lot of people think you got to be an extrovert to succeed in sales. In fact, if somebody's an extrovert, that means they talk a lot. And typically when we train them, we have to train them how to tone that down. We have a ton of salespeople that are introverts, extroverts, ambiverts, people in the middle. It's the questioning process, the tonality, the body language, and those are all acquired skills. Doesn't matter if you're introvert, extrovert, none of that matters at that point. Okay, any last words of advice you'd like to give everybody before we jump off?
Yeah, I thought about this actually. So first of all, it's a lot easier to make an extra $5,000 a month than it is to save $5,000 a month out of your current budget. So if you can increase your skills and increase your income, that's the best way you can do that is by investing into yourself in coaching and training and stuff like that. And if you just take a percentage of whatever you make, if you make $100,000 a year, that's $10,000 a year you can invest. If you're making $50,000 a year, that's $5,000 a year you can invest. If you just invest in yourself and you keep doing that, you will grow your income from 10, 20, 30, 40 grand and keep that up. Because like Jeremy said in the beginning of this, it's a constant and never ending improvement.
The only way you can make more money in sales is by learning more advanced skills than you currently have. There is no other way you will ever make more money unless you increase your skill level and sales ability. It all depends on that period, because that's the only thing you can control. Nothing else.
One more thing on that is Tony Robbins. I know you're a big fan of his as well. Yeah. I love how he talks about the ultimate success formula. And the 5th step of his 4-step ultimate success formula is hiring a mentor or a coach who has achieved what you want to achieve and do what they did to get the results. So that's why I'm in NEPq.
100%. Manny says, I'm already sold. How much? Manny, we don't have one training product with one price. We have over 27 with different price points depending on your current skill level. You probably want to book a call with one of our account managers, and they'll find out where your current skill level is and then recommend which training course to go through that's going to get you the quickest return on your money. Most of our clients say they return on their money comes in the first couple of days, if not a week. Worst case scenario, 2 or 3 weeks, they're already making more sales. It's a very quick return when you start learning the right skills. All right, everybody, get it up here. Jeremy, thanks for being on here. Now, you want to start making 10 grand, 15, 20, 30 grand a month? Type in me in the comments. Type in me in the comments if you want to acquire the sales ability that you will need if you want to make that type of money. That our clients who sell exactly what you do now make that every day. So type in me, and here's what I want you to do. Go ahead and message me directly in the Facebook group. So if you're in the Facebook group or the Sales Revolution Facebook group or the Facebook business page or LinkedIn, message me directly right now. If you're on YouTube, that platform doesn't let you message me. So you'll have to join our Facebook group if you want to message me. That's salesrevolution.pro. It's right there on the banner, right underneath me and Jeremy in purple, salesrevolution.pro. And just message me, and either me or one of my stunt doubles will message you back some different options. You'll be able to book a call with one of our account managers from all over the world. They'll find out more details about your skill level and where you're currently at. Once they understand that, they'll recommend which training, just like they did with Jeremy, to get in if you want to make that type of money. Thanks, everybody. Message me directly right now. Jeremy Mitchell, I will see you soon. I got to jump on a podcast.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks, everybody. See you soon. Good job, Jeremy.